All right, guys, welcome back to a podcast with no name. I'm Paris,
I'm Ebony.
and this is our small little section called Art, a real discussion. And today, this one is video number 2 on the book, The Four Agreements. So, if you didn't watch the last video, the first video was just kind of an introduction to the book that the author gave about why he decided to write the book and what the book kind of like is help to undoing. So I think it would be helpful to go ahead and watch that one too. But if not, it's totally fine. We can go ahead and go to the four agreements and work to it. And today we're going to work on the very first one. And the very first one is called Be Impeccable with Your Word.
Yo, this is my favorite one.
Yeah. So when you hear that, I know you read the book, so you have some insight to it, but I don't know how long it's been since you read it. When you hear be impeccable with your word, what does that mean to you?
So one, the Four Agreements is one of the books that I would like to read every year. That was 2020. I read the Four Agreements. Now it's 2022, so it's like not fresh in my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
did not read it 2021, and I have yet to read it this year. So this is just off memory.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the question?
It says, be impeccable with your word. That's the first
Aha.
agreement.
So for me as a poet, this is by far my favorite, and especially being an authentic person means when you're choosing not to be of the crowd or the group thing, everything that you do or say can be deemed disrespectful or dishonorable or whatever, negative descriptor they put on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a person who would say something and people would misread or misheard what it is that I was saying and derive a completely different meaning from it, I had to learn to be impeccable with my words. I had to make sure that I was choosing the exact word and saying it the exact way that I want my message to be received. And even if it wasn't, excuse me, even if it wasn't received the way, that I intended it to be, I did my part in it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If there is going to be a miscommunication, you want to do your best in being concise with whatever it is that you're trying to say. So it's not a matter of you adding to the problem. It's I'm only in charge of me and I want to clear it up. Whatever it is I'm saying or doing and give you a concise message. Now, again, interpretation is something completely different, but
Mm-hmm.
as long as you know you have said what you needed to say in love in the most
Mm-hmm.
clear and concise way, you clear. Well, in my opinion, I'm clear
Mm-hmm.
because I can't, change how you receive the message. I can't change what you hear. I can only, I'm only in control of what I say.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great explanation of it. And truthfully, what you explained kind of like encompasses the whole thing of what he was talking about. But just to kind of break it down, when he says to be impeccable in your word, he starts to break down the word impeccable into like the Latin of it. And so when you break down the Latin of impeccable, it means to be without sin. So your words to be without sin. And so he's saying when we hear sin, most of us think of like the very like religious, moral aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he said if you take it down to like simpler, a sin is anything you do which goes against yourself.
I
So
like that.
you want to be without sin. You don't want to say anything that goes against yourself. And with that, when you're being impeccable with your word, what you're literally doing is taking responsibility for your actions, um, especially in what you say, but you do not judge or blame yourself.
Right.
Okay. So one of the first things he was saying is when it comes to your word is people forget how powerful words
Words
are.
are.
Okay. And
Erica
that
Badu
literally,
said words are spells.
that's what he says too. Words are spells. And all the time you cast a spell and onto a person and into the world with your words. That's why they even tell you all the time is like be careful what you say because you don't know what you attract to yourself. And that's very true. We've all seen that because they're saying even be careful what you say to yourself, because you kind of, even in yourself, you make your own character, you make your own personality. And so in saying that, when he says that spells are words, when words are spells, excuse me, he was going even to the very beginning of like, most of us have heard this. It's like, in the beginning was the word, and the word was God. He said something that simple should just tune you into how powerful your words could be, because God just said the word, and then boom, here we are. So if you take that into account, you have to be very mindful of what you say at all times, in that you're being, like you're saying, always speaking in a place of love, consciousness, responsibility, and also, um, you have to, how do I explain this? You need to be mindful all
Mhm.
the time of like the effects you have on yourself and the effects you have on others with your words, because you may not realize sometimes of how you're poisoning yourself and poisoning others. So he went on with like a very simple example of that. There's a mom, she went to work, she had a long day at home, and I mean a long day at work, and she gets home, and she's tired, she's frustrated from work, she's on the beginning of a headache, and when she gets home, she walks in and her daughter's there, and the daughter that she loves and adores is just so happy to see her and happy and in her own world, right? So she's trying to sit down and have a minute to unwind, but the daughter who's there is laughing, playing, just singing like loud, at the top of her voice. She's in her own world, enjoying herself. And as she gets more and more happy, the singing gets louder. Until finally the mom says, "Shut up. You have an ugly voice. Will you just shut up?" And the little girl hears that. And while the mom didn't really mean it, she was just frustrated and she wanted the daughter to be quiet. The spell she did in is that the daughter never sang again, even though she had a beautiful voice. But not only in singing, she started to become very self conscious and like talking to people and making new friends, and just being kind of like shy and introverted. And that's part of her, that short spell she put on her in a moment of frustration caused her to lose her voice. And so you think all the time is like, sometimes in your anger or your frustration, you know, when have you said something that you didn't really mean in your anger or frustration, that was maybe like out of line or very out of character for you? And you may not have even considered how that word really affects that person. And if you think about that story of what the mom, what she said, and how that affected her daughter, well, let's take it deeper and think about what you say to yourself.
That's what I was thinking because a simple shut up would have just sufficed. What was all the other stuff? Ugly singing voice, that goes down to character. That's way
Mm.
like if you just want her to be quiet, all you had to do is say shut up. All that other
I wouldn't
stuff,
even say
like
shut up. That's mean. It's like,
no, I get that. I'm
yeah.
not saying that, but I'm saying like you put layers on layers on layers on it. It just could have
Hmm.
been a what shut up. And that's just
Hmm.
it. And that's not good, but it's not you have an ugly singing voice. That's a criticism. That went more beyond just being frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it absolutely is a character thing, but what if it's something that was passed down? Maybe that's the way her mother talked to her. And
Yes.
so she went on to say the same thing to her daughter, completely forgetting how those type of things felt to her, and maybe the impact that some of those type of things had on her life. And now she did the exact same thing to her daughter. And in that, it's kind of like you not being mindful of it. And what part of you had also learned this behavior from your mother that you pass it on as acceptable in a moment of frustration? You know, to me, like, My children get very loud. You see them in the back of the videos all the time. But one word we don't say in this house is shut up. That's rude. You don't say that. My children are very loud, and I go, hey, too loud,
Or
too
just
loud.
can you please be quiet? Or
Yeah,
she at least could have like, be quiet in a nasty tone,
yeah,
just straight shut up.
yeah.
Whoa.
I don't usually even yell at my children unless I have to yell over them. And then I'm like, hey, too loud. Like, that or whatever. But I'm addressing like a situation. I don't feel a need to say something to criticize them because I want to always be conscious of what I say to my children. Because a lot of us, especially in our generation, we're elder millennials, and we know we are. We
Speak for
know
yourself. I'm not no elder.
you, especially are an elder.
I'm
You're older than mine.
youthful. Youthful. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
All right, Zoomer. But anyway, so um, we know that like taking an interest in your children's mental health is very new. Taking an interest in how you raise your children is very new.
Mm-hmm.
And most of like the parents, not saying that they didn't care about you or your mental health or your personality, but a lot of them just went on kind of like raising you the way they were raised. And maybe something that was just they just really didn't like about their parents, they didn't do that. But other than that, they just kind of winged it and they kind of raised you the way that they understood they're supposed to be raised, not taking any time to like research, understand like the mind and methods of children or anything. And so, because of that, a lot of us also grew up with parents who maybe said things out of frustration or things that wasn't very kind. I know I have gotten things from my parents. You have, my husband, your husband. I don't know a single person in our generation who hasn't had a moment of receiving like a very unkind word from their parents in a moment of their parents being like very upset or frustrated, you know, in a situation. And all of us will remember those exact moments. And when you go back and talk to your parents, they don't remember it at all.
I think my biggest problem is not what I say, is how I say it.
Yes. We both have.
So as a poet, I said what I said, but the problem is I didn't say it with love. So it's not what I said. Like I never really have to go back and be like, oh, I said something that I didn't mean. It's more so like I shouldn't have said it that way. It was inappropriate. I should have set you down another way, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't right of how I carried it.
Mm-hmm.
It also makes me think of two situations. And I'll just give a vague example of one. Like, have you ever been around somebody, or like let's say you and your friend about to go somewhere. Obviously, y'all live in two different houses and y'all getting ready, you get ready, you put yourself together, you feeling real cute, you know what I'm saying? And your friend comes, either y'all meet somewhere or they come into your house or y'all meet at the parking lot and your friend be like, oh, you wearing that? Or,
Yeah.
oh, like they say something and you
Mm-hmm.
like, and then like we're just 20 seconds ago, you was feeling fly, cute, and can't nobody tell you nothing. Now your friend just inserted their opinion and now you don't feel as confident. And I
Mm-hmm.
always wonder, why do people do that? Shouldn't the first question be, do you like it? Like, hey
Mm-hmm.
girl, oh, you feeling cute, huh? You like what you wearing, huh? And then she
Yeah.
go, no, I feel uncomfortable. Like, yeah, girl, that don't look good. But if she like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I feel good, you know what I'm saying? And like, girl, work it. You feeling good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? But shouldn't the first question be what the person feels about what they did? Like, why? How insecure are you to insert what you're thinking and feeling and believe about another person when they didn't ask for it? And I always felt that to be very strange, that people would just go on to give an opinion of something and they don't even know if how the person feels about it. So let's just say I was already weak already and you said that and I go home and unalive myself.
But I would say, like, what about like, those friends who are like, look, I want to be the one friend. Like, I don't want to be phony. Like, I want to be the friend that tells you, like, hey,
But
you
that's to
don't
you.
match, or you.
But who opinion matters more? Do my opinion of myself matter more than your opinion and the world opinions of me? Who opinion matter more? So even if you want to be the friend and tell me the truth, figure out what my truth is before you impose yours, before you inject yours. So even if I was 600 pounds and I decided to go outside wearing small clothing, like literally the size small, and I'm 600 pounds, and you see me and you go, how do you feel? You feel comfortable? You feel like you look good? And you like, yeah, I'm killing this. Then what more is there to say? So what if the world was going to say so and so? So what if you don't think it looked good? Do you want to destroy another person because of your? And here's the other thing is, you may be feeling cute and thinking you look fly, and that other person don't think you look cute and fly, but they didn't say it to you. They let you live. They let you be. So we should be conscious of that. You should know what the other person is feeling about it before you interject your personal opinion. Another thing it makes me think about is social media. There is a sickness because I just don't understand spending my precious time watching somebody that I don't like, don't agree with, and then take it one step further and leave a negative comment.
Again, the words you're spewing are poison. Right. When you could have absolutely like kept it to yourself. Like, I never leave a negative comment. If I don't like it, I move on. It's not necessary for you, a person I don't know, to say, hey, I didn't like that. Hey, I didn't think that was funny or something like that. Whatever. And also, like, you don't also, when you take into consideration that like your words are spelled, you also don't realize is that it's your energy. And so why would you spend your energy?
Oh, you talking about word? Okay, got it. Okay.
Your words, when it's a spell, it's literally your energy.
Oh
And
yeah, I
so
see
it's
what
like,
you're saying.
why would you give any of your energy, one, in a negative manner, and two, to someone else in a negative manner? You know what I'm saying?
Especially when they're a stranger.
That part. And so it's like, also too, like, to me, I feel like when you consider like your words and like the energy, and I put that together, it was like, if I cast a spell, like, to cast a spell is literally to use or expend some of your power. And it was like, especially in a negative way, why would I give you any of my power? Why would I do that? And so it's better not to do that. The interesting thing is that you were saying earlier, it's like, I have a problem not what I say and how I say it. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, I do too. And I was like, wait, no, I don't. Because even I told you, like, an altercation recently, and I said something, and I said, oh, I said something, and I was very aggressive. But I don't take back any way of what I said. I meant exactly what I said. But I could have been gentler in it, but I wouldn't have changed what I said. It's because I have personally been a victim of a person saying something very mean to me, that I knew they did not mean, in a moment of anger, disappointment, frustration, whatever. And even in me knowing that they did not mean that, and that they were upset, I knew that, like, also, like, that was petty and not nice. And I don't ever want to be that type of person. And so since that moment, I've been mindful and purposeful in what I say. But I will say, like, I have a problem in maybe like in some moments of like gentleness of what I of
Saying
what
it with love.
saying it with love. And it doesn't, and I'm not talking about how I said it or how I asked it. I wouldn't change that because I'm never like rude or petty or mean. Or if I'm petty, I know that I'm being petty in this minute and I mean to be petty. Um, but it's never out of line, because all of us get angry and upset. That's inevitable. And especially when you're in an argument or altercation with someone. But you don't have to cross those lines. You know, we all have boundaries and borders, and you don't have to cross those boundaries even in an argument with someone. So even if I'm being petty, I'm not going to cross the boundary and say something really mean or whatever. I might just say something kind of maybe like witty, but it's still like petty in that moment. But also, again, it's like in a manner of the tone of that you speak to somebody. And so, like you're saying, if you're telling your children, you're like, be quiet, and you can say, hey, be quiet. We'll show an example now. Yeah.
Hey, Evie,
Sure.
hey, Bud.
That's true. You're welcome. Okay, go back with your tablet. You can have it. Just one, okay? Okay. Yeah. And so it's like in moments like that, you could be like, leave me alone, you know? Or you can just be like, yes. It's clearly a yes, and they're like, you're interrupting me. I'm frustrated. But I don't have to use the words of like, leave me alone. You may not realize to your children of like saying to them, leave me alone, of how that makes them feel, the impact of that. Like, I'm not wanted in this situation. My presence is not enjoyed. And so even in that, like outside of play, I don't tell my children, leave me alone if I'm playing, but I don't say that outside of like playing a game because I'm gonna be mindful of like what that would sound like and could feel like to someone. And so speaking of that, in being impeccable with your words, I was talking to my daughter one day and we were talking about a situation. I was telling her about something she said one time, that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way or something. And she, I think, or at that moment or something, and she said like, and I said because of that, what you said, this is, kind of how like I interact with this, or this is the consequences of something she might have said, like, in frustration or anger. And she went, oh, like, like, I'm sorry, mom, this and that, whatever, this and that. And I go, well, that was then, but, and that's why you had the consequence. Or this is why this is different. But she said, oh, well, like I didn't like really mean that. Like, I was just upset. No more. All done. And I said, I get that. No, no more. Just one. We'll put it back, please. And I said, I understand that. Like you said what you said, and I felt how I felt. And while I can like accept your apology now and understand that like you were upset about that. And that time you said what you said and I felt what I felt. And explaining to her is that like while you can apologize, you can't take it back. Um and like I said, when I felt what I felt, I can't unfeel that. You can't undo that for me. And so that's why you have to be impeccable with your word. Is because no matter how much you apologize, you can't take back how that you felt when you said whatever you said to yourself, or how you felt whenever someone said something to you, and vice versa.
It
So, yeah,
go ahead.
you have to ask Aurora. Go ask Aurora. Mm.
It reminds me of this story where there was a father and a grandson. I mean, a father and a son, or a grandson and a kid. Anyway, the little boy, when he would get upset, he would just start saying all kinds of things to release his anger. And he would just say really nasty things to the person, his guardian. So one day the guardian said to him, you can't just keep saying these things to people and come back and apologize. And he said, this is what I want you to do. From now on, every single time you say something, negative, or that you don't mean, or something out of anger, every time you do that, you have to go out back, take a nail and hammer, and bang a nail into the gate, right? So the little boy took on the challenge and was like, okay, I'll do it. So every single time he got angry or upset or mad and he said something negative or angry, he went outside and put a hole, I mean, nail to the gate. So eventually, like, it was starting to fill up fast. And the little boy said, I'm going to challenge myself, to make sure that I don't do this anymore. And the dad said, okay, for every day that you go without, saying something angry or negative, you can remove a nail. So the little boy got excited and he made the challenge to himself, like, oh, I'm not going to say anything negative. I'm not going to say, anything angrily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to, again, be impeccable with my words. So for every day that he didn't do that, he got to take out a nail. So the day came where he took out the last nail and he got so excited. He ran to the guardian. He was like, today I removed my last nail. I'm so proud of myself. And the guardian was like, yeah, good job. I'm proud of you too, but let's go take a walk. So he went outside to the backyard and they looked at the gate and he said, you see the gate? And the gate had all of these holes in it from the nails. He said, just because you're sorry, doesn't change the consequences of what you said. And that was the best story ever. It rang true to me. It's like, again, words pierce like bullets. And even though you can get to a point where you learn to master yourself, that's good. But all of the things that you said left holes in people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think about think of the times you recall like in a conversation, especially like a very strange conversation you have somebody. And in recalling that conversation, you start to have the same tone and anger that you had at the time of that conversation. Because while you're remembering what they said, you also remember how you felt. And it comes out in you relaying this conversation that happened whatever time ago. Sometimes it can happen like things that happened weeks or months ago, maybe even years ago, and you will still portray that same emotion in relaying that conversation that you did at that time. Uh, um, so absolutely, like everyone, it's saying, also it's when you use your words, you don't realize, again, with the spell, it's an agreement you make with another person or a universe or whatever. Um, so in saying that, you know, talking to yourself, going, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or "I'm so lazy," or "I'm so this and that," whatever. You don't realize the agreement you've made with yourself in saying those words. Um, and you will have to unlearn that. You will have to make a new agreement and unlearn that later if that's what you have been saying to yourself so often. Um, because when somebody, like, it's literally saying, when these things happen, whatever, and you feed into it, you believe it, you literally agreed with what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like you're saying, to agree with whatever, that is now a power that you have, or is that is being held over you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to do not touch. I don't know if you heard that. That was so funny. Go to the living room, please.
What did he
Oh,
say?
go to the living room. He was he was drinking juice and he was drinking his juice and I noticed he was about to push the button on the computer was going to shut everything down. So I grabbed the juice from him. He said,
He said my juice.
but so high pitched. He was like, 1 second. Yes, here you go. That cracked me up. I just touched it a little bit just to be like, what are you doing? No, you too.
Oh, I love you, Eva. Oh, that's how we doing? Evie, love you.
Just
Oh.
smiling. You're welcome. Okay. Sorry. So, yeah. Um. So it was saying one thing he said. The word is pure magic. It's the most powerful gift we have as humans, and we use it against ourselves. We plan revenge. We create chaos with the word. We use the word to create hate between different races, different people, different families, between nations. We misuse the word so often, and this misuse is how we create and perpetuate the dream of hell. Misuse of the word is how we pull each other down. and keep each other in a state of fear and doubt. Because the word is the magic that humans possess, and misuse of the word is bad magic. We are using bad magic all the time without knowing that the word is magic at all. So, also, what we were saying too, the other part it says, whenever we hear an opinion, mind you, said an opinion, whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement and it becomes a part of our belief system. And as we said in the last video, our belief system becomes our book of law of what we deem is true. And it's how we live our lives. So, and he's saying this off of a opinion that you decide to believe.
And when you think about this, it's like with opinions, it's
Mm-hmm.
go ahead. Let me get it together.
I agree. Um, Chris is in the background laughing because he's like, opinions are like belly buttons, you know.
Oh, yes, because that's what I wanted to say. Are there things that you don't have opinions about? Because that's how you know if you're growing or not growing. There should be things that you have no opinion about.
Oh, I see what you mean.
If you got an opinion about everything, what are
Mm-hmm.
what? Like some things you should be like, I never even thought of that or considered that, or like I don't have an opinion because I don't have the facts or enough
Yeah.
information. How do you
Yeah.
have an opinion on everything?
Yeah. That was interesting because I recently got a call, primaries are coming out and people are going to be voting. So they're calling out and they're like, hey, they're trying to get a poll on things. And they're like, what is your opinion about so and so? What is your opinion about so and so? And I'm like, I don't know. And they was like, no. And I was like, and then they'll be like, oh, what is your opinion about Republican, candidate so and so, and just whatever. And they're like, well, who would you vote for? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I haven't made a decision yet. And it was like, do you usually vote like one way or another? And I was like, I usually vote in my best interest. Like, I'm not I'm not gonna vote. Like, I understand like why I might lean more towards one side or the other. I vote in my best interest. So if this is over here and it's my best interest, I'm gonna vote for that. Like, I don't vote against my best interest to stay within a group. That is not a thing. But again, like going back to what you're saying, like if I don't know the facts, I don't have an opinion on it. Even if it may have a dog whistle word in it, I'm just like, I don't have an opinion on it because I don't know the facts. So I can't say anything about it.
Because an opinion is an investment. And when you realize, like when you start realizing you have an opinions on all these other things, and then someone comes to you and they go, what's your top 10 strengths? What's your weaknesses? And you,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to do in this world? Why you work? But you have opinions about everything else, and you invested in everything else that don't got nothing to do with your experience. But the things that you can actually control, the things that actually matter, you have no opinion about.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
You know what I find like really interesting too? Now that you mention that, and I wonder what that is. It's like, recently I had a business and I was selling something, and I was, sometimes I would go, to people like, just to walk up to them, tell them, and say, hey, I had a cookie business, and I was just selling cookies to make some extra money on the side. And I would say, hey, like, do you want to buy a cookie? And then people were like, what's different from your cookie than the other one? And I was like, bam, 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 bam. And they'll be like, what? And they're just like, Mom. Excuse me.
Wait a minute. Come back.
Yes.
Mom.
And they were just like, man, they were just like the way that you like automatically just had it. There was no hesitation. There was no like nothing about this and that or whatever it was. They're like, yeah, they're like, I'll buy your cookie and here's an extra something, like just whatever. Or like a couple of times the people was like, I don't want any cookies, but here's some money because like that was dope. And it's like, again, I have this opinion about my business because I'm invested in myself in my business. And so I know exactly what it is. And so I have an answer for you. And again, it's like what you're saying you invested in. If someone asks me like what are my top 10 strengths, I don't need to think that long. I'm like, I don't know if I have 10, but like I can come up with them. But I'm definitely gonna have like 3 or 4 for you off the top because I'm invested in myself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask me like what I think about a reality show, that's gonna be like one of the few times I'm gonna hesitate and be like, because I haven't like watched it or
So
I'm not heavily
invested.
invested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I don't have like a lot of opinions on it. And so I definitely agree with you with this like having an opinion on something is definitely like investing yourself in it. And having opinion about something, truthfully, is having a belief about something.
Mm-hmm.
And a belief about something is something that you've invested into your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to have an opinion about reality TV shows, it's not like you can't. It's fine. But there probably should be other things that you're more interested in other than that. You know, if you found that you only really have opinions about these things, but you don't have maybe opinions about like your own life or the manner in which you choose to like maybe
Show up. Be.
show up, the
Mm-hmm.
manner in which you choose to like speak to people or whatever, the manner in which you choose to carry yourself. If you have not invested in that, you should take like some interest in that. If you're just going through life winging it and you've taken no real investment into yourself, you know what I'm
And
saying?
another, sorry.
Go ahead.
Another thing is like people can tell you what they believe, but they can't tell you how they feel. That burns me up. I can't stand it. It burns
what,
me up. It's like you're wasting my time.
what is an example of that?
Like they be like, oh, because I seen so and so did who and who and who and who. And for me, I go, okay, obviously it's not your business. This is what I'm thinking in my mind. And you're triggered. So I want to know how are you feeling because maybe that will help you connect the dots on why you even invested in something that doesn't, is not your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask them, well, you telling me that, but how did it make you feel? They be like, I don't know. I just saw him do did it, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're not connecting the dots. You are triggered and you don't even know why you are triggered. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know. You don't know what happened that put you in this space to invest in somebody else's business and forming an opinion. So you know what your beliefs are, but you don't know why you feel that way. You don't know why you feel these beliefs, why you pick these values. You just
Mm-hmm.
it's just trigger off a trigger and it's like, well, I feel this way and you go, well, why? And they have no answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel like I can't stand this person? You go, but why? Why do you not like this person? They can't tell you. They can't tell you.
Yeah.
They make it tell you what the person did. Oh yeah, because she stole my money. She took my this, she did it. But you go, okay, so basically all those things made you feel a certain way. And instead of you in like speaking about it from the point of how it made you feel, you
Mm-hmm.
want to speak about it from the opinion piece which is all of these things may make me think this way or form this opinion,
Mm-hmm.
not all of these things make me feel this way, which forms this opinion. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That made me think about a conversation we recently had, and I said I was talking to an elder, and an elder was going on about like a certain behavior that they deemed disrespectful, and I asked very honestly, I was like, "Why is that disrespectful?" Because like to me, it was like very simple, especially like they were speaking on the behavior of somebody who's very grown, who's a full adult, like not even like 21, like in their 30s. And they were like, "Yeah, that's just like disrespectful. You wouldn't do that." And I was just like, "Why?" And they just looked at me like blinking for a second. And they were like, well, I would never, I get that. But why didn't you do it? And I'm like, I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. I'm just asking a question of like why that is. And the thing about that is like so often it's again, you question a person's opinion, which they have built into their belief system. And that's often where I get in trouble
You do.
because I question your opinion of something what you have ingrained into your belief system, but you haven't fully delved into like why that is, like why you have that opinion, where you got, this notion or conviction from so strongly. And a lot of that has to come from, it's just what they did. It's just what we do. It's what they did, and now I do it. And goes, okay, so like, why did they do it? And like, why did you agree to do that too? Like, what part of that? And you have no answer for that. And so when you come to that and you start to question that, that's, I'm just telling you, people who know and who maybe grow into this, you'll get in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Get in
that's
a
what
lot of
Three
trouble.
Magic Cheese said. There are people out there that will resent you and hate you for forcing them to think about their unquestioning ways. So yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have people in our own family who like do not like us. We're freaking frack to them.
Hey, that sounds fun.
We are the troublemakers.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Mhm. Which is jacked up because again, I'm like, yo, we're the most fun people in this whole group. And y'all so mad at us for just asking why.
I just let people be. Because listen, what I aspire to in this life is freedom. And in order for me to be free, that means I have to allow you to be free. I'm not about to
True.
invest in you. That's too much.
True. But I mean, I think that's my problem too. Cause I'm like, I'm not invested. Like I might be invested in this conversation. I'm not invested in you. But I think my mind just works in that like I grew up not being uh reprimanded for asking questions. And so then when I got to a different environment of elders and asking questions was very disrespectful, that's when I got in a lot of trouble. But it's ingrained in parts of my personality of just asking questions of like, especially the why question. Because I didn't get in trouble for asking why. My parent was patient enough to explain it. So to me, it's not always like an investment in you. It's just like a natural curiosity of like, why? But not even that, of just me questioning is like, I do get in trouble also too for like questioning the source. So like people will be like, oh,
Don't, isn't that who you should bring all your questions to? The source?
not the source, but I'm talking about the source of like whatever they're saying, whatever. And
Right.
they're like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. So they're like, oh, this and that and whatever. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, even the question of just be like, are you sure? And they're like, it's a question. Like, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just like, to me, I'm just like, oh, like, to me, what you said is clearly like a very hot opinion, a very hot take or whatever. And I just feel like, that you're saying with like a lot of fact. And I just feel like, are you sure? And people just will be like very upset. But again, it may be a matter of like what you're saying. It's like, if I'm not invested in that person, do I need to ask that question? That's a
Mm.
good point. Maybe I need to consider that.
Well, I listen. I'm gonna be in the hot seat enough in my life, so I take any opportunity to bow out and mind my business. So
Yeah. I think we definitely reversed in life. Like so
we
many things
did,
in
we
life between us
did,
completely reversed.
we did.
There's supposed to be things that you're doing that I'm supposed to be doing and vice versa. And I don't know how it is because like definitely like when we were little, like you were the problem. And that was a good one. It's definitely reversed in life. Like like I'm the problem. And
Mm.
they want to hold on to you so much. They didn't let me go. They're like, she's a problem.
See, the difference is, although they recognize I'm the problem, they go, she also fun as hell. Like whenever you come around, we gonna have a good time. So am I willing to overlook? Even though I'm not messing with nobody. I
Hmm.
mind my business. I don't invest. Don't invest.
And I think that's yeah, that's just different too. Cause like we could argue like, oh man, like Abby's like willing to have your own fun, and I'm like, I'm willing to have my own fun, but I don't want to have no fun with you. I bring no fun over here, you know. So I'm gonna be the corner over here doing my thing. You're still like, oh, well, let's do this and that, whatever. But also, like, I realized, like, between two of us, like, there always have to be two. Like, there's like the ride and then there's the die. So you're the ride and I'm the die.
What do you mean? Explain the ride and the die rolls.
Because I'm the chill one. You're the hype one. So I'm the one who's just like in my room chilling. And then you bust in, you be like, you want to go play in puddles? And I'm like, okay. And then as whole adults, like people slipping, sliding through puddles in the parking lot. And people are looking
That's
like,
like,
what is happening? And it was like, it's fun.
I got my Mario on like 3 months ago. I was having me a good time out there. I was like, I know these people like, she childish. I was spinning and sliding and everything. I like,
Uh-huh.
ooh.
Mm.
Had me a good time.
Yeah. And see, like I'm go watch puppy dogs. Stop. Please and thank you. Go to the living room, please. But yeah. So to me it's like when I see the rain, I'm like, oh, it's raining, that's cool. And then you be like, you want to go play in the rain? I'm not the person you have to ask twice. I'm like, okay. So you're the ride and not the die. Because most of the shenanigans, I'd say 98% of shenanigans were your idea.
Yeah, I liken myself to a roller coaster. You excited about getting on? You're like, oh, it's gonna be so much fun. It's gonna be so much fun. You get a little nervous as you get closer to the track. Then as soon as you get there, you get in, you're like, oh yeah, I can do this. This gonna be fun. Yeah. Then you know what I'm saying? It's starting off slow, and you like, oh yeah, we ready, we ready. Then it get to the high, and then you look down and you be like, why did I do this? And then next thing you know, we going. And there's moments where you gonna be up, down, twisted, flipped around. You can throw your hands up, close your eyes, scream, do whatever. But I'm gonna just match the energy.
That's fine. Right there.
So
yeah, to me it's the opposite. I don't get to the top and I'll be like, why did I do this? Like I go through the whole ride and I'm like, oh, that was fun. And then I'm like, that's usually how it works between us. Like I enjoyed the whole ride and afterwards I'm like, that has literally happened in our experience. Of me having a great time the whole time and being dog sick afterwards. It's literally happened with it. So that's my experience. Other people, they may be like, "Oh, this is fun," and they get to the top, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then they look at me with you, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "If only you knew. I've been doing this for 30 years."
And then the funny part is, you know, I'm gonna prank you. So like before you get to the exit, you gonna be like this, pulling up to the station like this. That's why
Whiplash.
you throwing up, cause
you. And don't have no bug in you in the middle. She gonna mollywop you. Take your head off. That's just an inside joke between us, but Lord.
Oh, okay. Well, we got like 7 more minutes, so let's just go ahead and wind it down.
Yeah. I think we pretty much got it there, but like we said, the first agreement is being impeccable with your word. It's just being careful of the agreements that you make with yourself and with others and how the power of the word, how much power the word has. And when you make an agreement with someone and what the or yourself and what you've said, you've decided to now incorporate this into your belief system, which is now a way that you function in life and what you deem to be true. So go back and think about. Not even go back. Don't go back. Take it from here on out. Be mindful of your word and also be mindful of the word of others. You know, what other people say to you does not have to be anything that you agree to and invest yourself in, whatever it is. And because of that, when you're mindful of that, that'll move right into the second agreement that we'll talk about on our next video. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. This has been a podcast with no name. I am Paris.
As Ebony.
And this, oh Lord. And this is our The Real Discussion, where we're discussing the four agreements. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Peace.